Kyle, what are the other ways you're using Google Glass?
So we're really delivering a video conferencing solution for these guys. So we want to help doctors and nurses communicate in real time at the point of care. So we're targeting the OR for a few reasons first. Number one is teaching and training. First-person video is like the best teaching tool ever for people who are doing very hands-on kind of a work, right? Being able to see what a surgeon sees in first person as they're doing it is really compelling. So teaching and training is a huge part of what we're going after. We're also putting glass on what are called certified registered nurse anesthetists, or CRNAs. And the CRNAs actually work across a few operating rooms, and you'll have one anesthesiologist kind of working with 2 or 3 at a time. So we're putting glass on the CRNAs so that the anesthesiologist can literally beam into the operating room as if they were there, and they can communicate with their CRNA, right? Wow. So they can see the patient's skin color, they can see into the surgical field, they can see the anesthesia monitor, they can talk about dosing information, whatever needs to happen. That can all happen now remotely. So it's a huge patient safety improvement, it's a huge operational efficiency improvement, and ultimately we think it's a net win for all the parties involved.
So we talked about medical reasons to use Google Glass, but what about security reasons? What about military, NASA?
Yeah, it's actually really interesting you bring up. I mean, there's so many verticals that Google Glass is good for. Broadly speaking, if your job description is that you are running around all day using your hands and you need to access and share information, then this concept is probably interesting.
This reminds me of Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible or something. Right?
It's really
so
out
futuristic.
there. It's so futuristic. It's so out there. But absolutely. So military is interesting. Actually, we've had a few companies approaching us, asking us so that we can license our technology to them, because all of our stuff is very secure. We have to adhere to all the hospital security protocols. So our software is inherently quite secure. And we do all kinds of encryption and fancy other tricks we play to make it really safe. So the military has actually been interested in licensing this as well. So we're in talks with folks in military and manufacturing, veterinary, and medicine.
Looks like spy equipment to me. It does. It's so cool.
The police side is really interesting. I mean, there's definitely people already working on that for the police. That's not really an area we want to get into, but there will probably be policemen filming things in first person. And honestly, that's kind of a consumer protection thing as well for abuse, right? To protect the public. So there's two sides to that coin.
Yeah, especially if somebody's saying they got beaten by police, if they have first-person information that was exactly what happened, or could actually hurt them if they are the ones doing something wrong, right?
Yes, I mean, there's two sides to that coin, and ultimately, we're already getting a more open, connected society, right? Zuckerberg is like, we want to create the world as an open, connected place, and that really means we want to make sure that it's harder to hide things today than it was 6 years ago.
Big Brother, so it's weird.
Right, so everything is tending that way. Has been and probably will continue to tend that way.
And then there's the lawsuits that will be coming too. Opens up a whole nother can of worms. Okay, let's talk about you. I love your statement that you try to break something every day. Tell me about that. Why do you say that?
So, I mean, healthcare IT, especially the industry I operate in, is just such a complacent industry, and there's so many big companies that are trying to do so little. So we really come in and we look at this and we say, okay, how can we really take the status quo, and how can we break so many assumptions? So like the assumption we're breaking with our first product is that you need to be here to do something. And I think that's a huge assumption. And we like to take really big ideas, and our engineering team is they're phenomenal guys, and we try and say, okay, what if we could do this? Well, what if we could do this? And we work with our doctors to kind of get their input too, but we're very much trying to not say, if you let your customers drive everything that you develop, you get a very narrow project that's based on the past. And we come at this as a bunch of tech geeks saying, you know what, this is amazing, what can this do? Right, and we have to work with the hospitals. There's a push and a pull there. You can't just build random stuff that no one will use. Right, we want to deliver something that's compelling. We also have to work within regulations of billing and whatever else in the hospitals. But we really try and say, this is new. What can we do with this? The new iPad, we've learned, we've done some number crunching, and we think it can render 4 720p video streams on the new iPad.
Explain that to people. The masses don't understand what you just said.
Right, so the new iPad, the A7 chip Apple's promoting, it's 64-bit, like all fancy desktop stuff. We think it has the horsepower to show and render 4 720p HD videos on the screen. That's a lot of horsepower. And so what we're thinking is like, so what if you had 4 other people running around the hospital and you had one iPad and you could actually have 4 video streams wireless in your hand?
That's cool.
Right? So we're thinking like, this is amazing. That was never possible in the history of humanity before. And we want to try and make this a reality in hospitals. Because you can really change hiring structures, organizational structures. I mean, you could change so much about the fundamental structure and care delivery when you can break these kinds of assumptions.
I love it. This kind of goes in par with you saying, I'm an overground child who's wandering through the playground of life.
Absolutely. Every day is a fun day. Tech is so cool, and there's so many crazy things happening. The wearables, 3D printing, robotics. I was just at the conference that led me into your studio here was a conference called FutureMed, and you wouldn't believe the kinds of guys that are here. I mean, guys who are changing the world through 3D printing, through robotics, nanotechnology, genomics. Like, there's so much stuff happening, and we're just in our little tiny niche of like Google Glass stuff. But I love meeting these guys and working with them and learning from them, and they learn from us, and hopefully we'll do cool things together.
Yeah, I can't wait to see where your career goes. Awesome. Thank you for bringing all this new technology. So fun.
We're having a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Taylor,
So much
thank
fun.
you.
You'll be back.
I'll be back.
Thank you.